So in 2008, there was many challenges Guruji threw my way, maybe for another satsang. And I began to think that the material world was the place to be. And I decided to slowly wrap up my time with Bhakti Marga and Guruji and pursue material happiness. And over time, I continued to acquire children. I have 2 only, not thousands. 1 boy, 1 girl. And a house, a nice car, all the things that your material desires could ever want. Went on nice holidays, and eventually, God was an afterthought. And then one day, calamity hit, life problems started, and I lost perspective I lost perspective in my material life. I thought, you know what? I'm one of those people that, read those books, how to be successful in life, have your bucket list, and I was crossing all of those off, And as I was getting to the bottom of the list, I realized, as the saying in the verse that I read, I began to be disappointed in life. It didn't give me everything I wanted. And I knew there was a truth to life that the outside world couldn't give. And at this point, as the calamity in my life had grown bigger and bigger, I decided to pray after a long time. And I decided to pray to Guruji 10 years after I'd left and acquired all these material goods. And in that moment that I prayed, 2 days later, I was walking to work, and I work in a bank, and there's many people who dress in suits and ties, and you don't find many spiritual people there. And there's this man that walked by me, as an Indian man, and he tapped on his forehead. And I looked at this man, and I was thinking, that's weird. And at this moment, I was, very concerned because I could see my life starting to fall apart. I looked at this man, and I was thinking, interesting. And he looked at me, and he said, "Brother, you're worrying a lot. Don't worry." I said, "Okay." And he said, your life, you're going through a lot of things right now, but don't worry, next year will be good. And he said, "Pick a number." I said, "Okay." And write it on a piece of paper. So sorry, he wrote the number, he wrote something on a piece of paper, he put it in my pocket. I said, "Okay." And he went on to tell me a little bit about my personality and how things would change and that things will be okay. So in some ways, I thought this is an interesting kind of experience. I left, I was about to leave, and he said, "Hey, what was that number that you were thinking?" And I told him the number, and he said, "Oh, just pull the piece of paper out of your pocket and look at it." And it was the number that I was thinking. I was like, wow, that's a cool magic trick. Just left it alone, and off I went. And in November, there was a strong desire to go see Guruji. So for the first time in 10 years, I decided to get up and strike up the courage, and I went to see him. And in my first meeting with him, many things happened, again, time for another satsang. He asked me, "Sai Ram, what are you here for?" And I said, "Guruji, at that time, I was pretty beat up by life. I'd experienced everything. And I said, I'm here to change." And he said, "Good." And he goes, "What do you want to change then?" I said, "Ooh, this is a tough question." And I started looking at some of the qualities that I had, and I started listing out the qualities I wanted to change in me. And he goes, okay. And then he said, you know, life is like a circle. And we continue to make the same mistakes until one day we realize what life is really about. And I realized this is true. Sometimes we have to experience to realize. And at that moment, Guruji turned to me and he said, you know that man you saw in Toronto? That was me. I was blown away. Because, like in this story, Guruji was always there, you know. He was always there throughout all of my pursuits. Maybe I turned the volume switch down, but he was always there.